Good morning and welcome to the Rewind Show, the Sunday supplement 233. I'm Steve Brown and over there is Brent Peters. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you? But before we get going, I want to know this.
Go
I
on.
want to know what your experience was like being a Brent Peters distribution FedEx driver.
It was actually quite good. It's not a bad round over there. You know, it's almost near where I live, but it was really good. And it was, well, I tell you what was good about it, because I made a mention of it in the match program, Brent, and I was spending time with Kyle, because usually I've known him for the last 4.5 years. We usually were like passing ships. You know, when we chat, it's small talk. You know, how you doing? Yeah, we had a good week. Yeah, all right, not too bad, Steve. And that is it. And then I see him play and I commentate on him, and I kind of know him, but I don't know him. But spending 8 hours with the lad on Monday, what a nice lad he is. When you really get to know Carl Siddle, he's a top lad, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a great lad.
And I think he enjoys working. I think he enjoys the job.
Yeah, well, you know, he knows the job, and that's the beauty. He knows the job. It's like us all. We can all have good days. We all have bad days, and if you catch somebody on a bad day, you might get the brunt of them. But you know, he is a genuinely good lad, and the thing is that. I don't bother my drivers, you know, as long as they get on with the job, and as long as the only time that I'll bother them is if I'm getting in the neck of FedEx for something, then it passes down the line, which has to do, you know, and I tell them to tighten the belts up and, come on. But listen, I've been there. I've wore the T-shirt. You're your own boss. It's fantastic, but you've got to do the job. You've got to do it correctly.
That's what he was telling me. That's what he enjoys about the job, is the fact, you know, you leave the depot, you're your own boss. You've got to get the job done. And he said you don't hear from Brent if you're doing the right things. And such is the same in football, Brent, isn't it? If you're doing the right things, you're not going to get it in your ear.
No, exactly. It's the same principle. Yeah, 100%. You know, but he knows the job, and he knows the customers, and he's we're good, you know. And then when we were struggling on Monday and we had to do what we had to do, it was great to have you on board, you know, to fall back on and you know, and jump in. And like you say, you've got to know you like when you spend 8 hours in a vehicle with somebody, you get to know them a lot better than what you did before.
I did say to him before, I said, you do know when we're having a conversation, I said, I'm making a mental note of it because it's going in match program. I said, yeah, okay. So he was a profile player in this week's match program. It was a no-brainer, wasn't it, in the end?
Well, that's right. Yeah. It's anyway, all good. All good.
Good week.
I've just had the same week. It's. Listen, I don't really want to go into it because it gets boring, doesn't it? I mean, it's the same. It's the same intense. I mean, it's like yesterday after a good win. I mean, I'm living it. I'm in there. Everything's revolving round myself, really, and I'm in it all the time. And the lads. Let's get one thing straight. All the lads that have worked on that club, you know, we've been very, very careful in choosing the people that we've chosen to work on behalf of Bacup Borough Football Club. But the lads that have worked on there and done the jobs, you know, the different tradespeople, you know, electrician, plumber, Keith, who's from Valley Sound and Light, all them, you know, the ground workers, which is Chris, one of our partners from Croft, you know, Alex McNulty and people like that. They've all done an absolute fantastic job, and none more than, you know, well, I can't really, it's hard for me to single anybody out, but, you know, in a club, your focal point is always your bar. Your bar is your focal point. And when that's finished, well, it is finished in turn. Well, it's more or less finished. I mean, there's lights to go in it, but that bar, is something else.
It's a piece of art.
It's a piece of art, you know. And I did say to the young lad, which was Jake Nixon. I have to give him a special mention, Jake, because his late father used to come on and watch us. You know, support, you know, and have a drink in the club, you know, how it were before, you know, lovely man, you know, and a well respected and a good supporter of Bacup Borough. And you know, when we gave spoke to Jake about the job, I mean, he was passed on to me through Andrew Walker. And when we spoke to Jake, I basically said, no pressure, Jake. You know, have you built a bar before? Have you done, you know, no pressure, but this has got to be the focal point. You know what? And it's amazing. He's done an absolute fantastic, really
gone into it.
Fantastic job. You know, and it's credit to him. But like I said, I'm living that all, you know, around them, and there's been problems along the way. You know, it wouldn't be Brent Peters or Bacup Borough without problems, and there has been problems along the way. And none more than yesterday. I'm ready to go. We've got everything sorted out. I'm ready to leave the ground. I think, right, well, go and shut the toilets. I'll go and check them out, the outside toilets on the ground. Gone up onto the toilets, the ladies' toilet. Why do we always have issues with ladies' toilets? I don't know. Even in the old club, we always had issues with ladies' toilets. As soon as I got in there, wham, bam, thank you, man, it's backing up. You know, things are backing up. So I'm in meltdown at this point. So straight away, I'm already, even though it's, listen, if we'd have lost the game, and I'd have been even worse. But, you know, it was a good performance from the lads, and we got a result. Yeah. But the thing were, when I'm seeing the toilet backing up, I'm like on the phone to the plumber, you know, what's going on with these toilets? Blinking out, we can't have this. If there's a function on tonight in club, we'd have a blinking crash. You know, it'd be a car crash. What's going on? Oh, well, it's not me, you know. You'll have to speak to the ground worker. So then I'm on the phone to Chris. Chris, you know, day one, this lady's toilet, oh, it's not backing up. You know, I'll have to come up in the morning. I'll have to get it. I'll have to just, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, everything looks good, but we've had a teething problem. We've had a teething problem and an headache on day one, which, you know, listen, these things. I've said to you before, one of the biggest problems that site, it weren't geared for, even though there were a building on it, the land wasn't fit for a building. You follow me? And we've had to do a lot now to get that building on, which has cost us a lot more money.
Yes.
But equally, the drains obviously were fit for purpose. So they're going to have to do something, because they're not going to be able to carry the workload of what's going to be the usage.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that, you know, that's
unless something's been put down there that shouldn't be down there, Brent.
Well, that's another thing. When we'll find that out today. But it always, it's a standing. Even in the previous club, you know, when I used, you know, like we'd be getting ready for a party or a function, and you'd had events on the night before, and I'd go, why is it always the ladies' toilet? What do they do in these cubicles? I mean, I'm not being funny. The blinking basins would start swirling. I'm thinking, what? I mean, listen, it's a blinking family show. This, I can't start saying the wrong things. I'm thinking, what are they doing behind them cubicles? Blinking heck. Why is the balls blinking moving? You know, and then you find out that they're blinking I don't know, you know, these wipes down the blinking toilet, which people with common sense knows not to put any of them anywhere near a bleeding toilet. But listen, it is what it is. But yeah, I've got to say this: the lads, the people that's worked on it and are still working on it, you know, they've done an amazing job.
Yeah. You also wanted to mention, while we're talking about jobs, you wanted to give a mention to a Nightsy.
Oh yeah, Andrew. I mean, he pops up. You know, he'll drop me a text. I mean, as you know, this weather, especially what's been happening the last few weeks, where it's been hot and then it's been raining, and then hot and raining. That's a recipe for overgrowth at Bacup Borough. Do you know what I mean? And Andrew Knights, to be fair to him, dropped me a line and say, "Hi Gaffer, I'll be up at 9 o'clock on Friday. I'll leave the gate open. I'll be in and I'll do all the strimming and I'll do all the mowing. I'll be up. I'll get it done for you." And he's been amazing, and he's done all that all through summer.
Yeah.
So I have to thank him. I mean,
and it's surprising how clean it looks when it's been trimmed and mowed. It looks really nice.
Yeah, it does. And to be honest, it is it's high maintenance. His Bacup's ground. I mean, I know everybody likes it because it's got the traditional, it's a traditional old football ground, but it is high maintenance. So with the help of the likes of Andrew Knights, it comes up and keeps on top of that. That's a massive help for me. So yeah, Andrew, if you're watching, thanks for that, mate.
Yeah. Let's move on to football. First home game of the season yesterday against Steeton. 1-1. And I know we had a chat after the game, or later on after the game, and probably, Brent, on reflection, a draw was the right result.
Well, it depends how. It probably depends how you kind of look at it. Let's just cut away from the chase a little bit here. In terms of it depends. Listen, it's all about taking your chances when your chances come, and they took their chances, or took their chance. Did I think they had a lot of possession in the game? No, I thought they were defending for long periods of the game. I thought that the only time that they really stepped up the cause was when, probably from the 84th minute, when the sending off the second yellow card for Kyle Siddall. I think that they did try to really put us under a little bit there, where they had the extra man advantage. But if you look at the overall game, when I look at it, let's take it from the off. In the 3 matches we've played this season, I would say that possession wise and playing football wise, if we were on Sky and they put the stats up, our possession and ball retention and everything about it would be far greater than Steeton. We had the ball. We played more controlled football. We were getting into the final third. We were asking a lot of questions. I kind of think that any opportunities that they got, or where they put us under a bit of pressure a little bit, was basically from our downfall, from our wrong decision making, mainly around the midfield area. They capitalised on it and kind of
all the way too cheaply.
Yeah, but listen, I don't understand it. It got a bit. It were a bit messy at times, because what they were doing, it's all right playing football and being a footballing team, but there's got to be a means to an end. And I've said to you before, and I've said it on this show before, the coaches have worked really, really well with them in the summer, really well. And Alan Taylor, the technical coach, he's put bullet points on the board about for various areas, and it's there for him to see every game. And one of the bullet points that he puts on: can we get the ball forward? Can we make a forward pass? I love that, because that's what you've got to do. As a midfield player, I've said it before, no disrespect to the late Ray Wilkins, but they used to call him the crab, because he'd just go from side to side. He'd keep possession, but you weren't getting anywhere with him. Whereas, forward passing is massive. You're opening people up. And the good thing is about when you make a forward pass, you don't always have to find feet. We've got lads in that team that's got pace. Yeah. So you force a run. So you put it into
a zone, and then allow them to try and latch onto the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, where we give Steeton a little bit of a leg up is that in midfield we were trying to kind of, at times, not always, but it was something I mentioned in the first at half time. At times we were playing like little one-touch sideways passes. Yeah. Sideways, not forward, sideways. But what were happening, there weren't enough on them. You know, the passes, there weren't nothing on them. So they were like, there were not enough meat on the bone. So they were kind of falling a bit short of where they should be going. And they were like latching on and coming back at us a little bit. You know, and then we defended it from that situation and defended as we have been doing really, really, really well. Because again, if you look at it, how many shots was put onto Billy? I haven't seen Billy make a save in all game. No. In all fairness, he's not made.
Very similar to Ashton Town, balls put into the box, which the defence were able to look after, but then shots on goal were minimal, weren't they?
Yeah. So I think So to me, you know, when you're saying, do you think when people or you or anybody says, do you think a draw is a fair result? Well, if you're a friend of Roy Mason's, it's a draw's a fair result. Yeah, right. It's a fair result, Roy. Yeah, because you're a friend, you don't want to upset Roy Mason, right?
No, hey, hold on a minute. I was saying it because I saw a game which probably, on reflection, was a draw all day long.
Well, were it? Yeah. How many chances did they have? And I mean chances to our chances. And I mean chances. I mean, I can give you... I mean, in the first half, Brady Boorman puts an absolute great delivery in. Tomo's got a blinking header on it, and he's put it wrong. He's put it slightly wrong side at post, but it's an header on goal. It's gone wrong side at post. Chance. That's a chance all day long, right? But you counteract that and tell me, have Steeton had something like that? I ain't seen it. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, not to that.
I ain't seen that. So that's a chance, right? That really, by rights, that should have been in the net, but it wasn't, right? I'll give you another one, right, in the first half, right? Absolute fantastic passage of play in 3 passes, I think it were. So so Josh Wall plays a tremendous ball into Kyle Siddall. Kyle Siddall takes the initiative and runs into space. Ollie Hodgson peels off him, right? So Kyle's done a reverse pass into space to Ollie Hodgson. Ollie Hodgson's gone round the defender. Check, gone round the defender, done everything right. A great shot on goal. It's the foot of the post. That's another shot. That's another chance. So let's back to counteract that again. Tell me one that Steeton have done like that. I ain't seen it.
Well, they did. They just put Bollick back at it.
Well, once. And I'll come to that in a minute. So we've had them 2 chances. We've had 2 absolute fantastic chances. Now, let's talk about the ball that they put in the net, right? So let's talk. This is fine margins, right? Yeah. Did I see them scoring at this point? No, I didn't. Did I think we were comfortable all over the pitch? Yes, I did. Yeah. Right? More than comfortable. Did I see a team that was more kind of probably more worried than what we were? Yeah, I did. I saw Steeton. I thought Steeton were more concerned about us, and they were. But credit to them, they scored a goal. They capitalised them on a situation. But let's talk about that situation. This is exactly what I was talking about just a few minutes before, when I said in midfield we were doing things that we really shouldn't have been. We should have been a bit more kind of thinking about forward or making forward passes.
More positive,
rather than. 5-a-side. I call them 5-a-side passes. What you do in a 5-a-side arena, right? Little layoffs, round the corners. But not getting there. There's nothing on them. They're in my terminology, I'd say you were neither fishing nor mending nets. In other words, you were doing freaking nothing. It were a nothing ball. You get me? But this is what happened. If you think about their goal, right? And okay, credit to them, they finished it and they scored it. And all goals come from an element of luck sometimes, and I think they had an element of luck. But let's talk about it. Brady Boorman has won an header. It not wide. It was like in field, if you will. He wasn't central, but he was in field.
Yeah.
He wins an header. He goes up, wins an header. Kind of how I saw it. So when that header drops into like no man's land, we have to pick the second ball up at this point. we got our distances wrong, and we didn't. Now, what I saw was Joey Fallon was trying to go in there to because he saw it, and tried to go in. So at that point, when he tried to go in, right, we have to have somebody the nearest that has to cover Joey, because Joey's now gone into taking up a central area. So we've got to have. But the player in question didn't drop in. He stayed level with him, right? Well, that's not dropping in. So basically, there was all that space behind him, right? So there was. Tell me if I'm wrong. You know, I'm explaining this.
You're spot on.
So there was all that space behind him, and then next thing, because we didn't actually get there because the distances weren't right. We didn't pick the second ball up. They put it in that space. Yeah. We recovered him quite well. But then the lad on the right-hand side got in, and then he kind of, and if you think about it, it looked like he was feigning to put a pass back across because Billy in goal looked like he was going to go back.
Trying to get his angles right, is Billy, because he's thinking, if this comes straight across the face of goal, I've got to be ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. But what he did, I wasn't too
sure whether the lad Macaulay Smith has gone for the cross or he sliced a shot.
And he sliced the shot.
And it's gone in near post.
Yeah. It was a goal, not a problem.
When it all came, when you look at it and break it down like that, it's come from a Bacup error in midfield.
Yeah, exactly. I think, that there were a couple of them situations happening in the first half which had to be addressed at half time. But listen, coming back, about the draw is a fair result. Yeah, that's opinions. I mean, how would you arrive at a situation where you think that a draw was a fit? Last week, I thought that Ashton didn't deserve to lose that game last week. And I felt that they didn't really do enough to win the game. And I felt that last week, did we deserve to lose the game? No, I didn't. But did we really do enough to win the game? No, I didn't. So I would look at that saying a draw was a fair result. Yeah. So if I flick that into yesterday's game, and this isn't being disrespectful to anybody, this is just my personal opinion, is... do I think that a draw was a fair result yesterday? Well, if I'm being generous to Steeton, I'd say, well, like I just said, and I'm not being flippant, if I'm being generous, well, maybe, but I don't see that, because at the end of the day,
based on the first half chances alone,
and based on territorial possession, we were the team in the ascendancy. And I honestly think if that second yellow card doesn't happen, the longer the game was going, we were building up, and we knew, obviously the bench is always important. Yeah. And when the changes were going to come from the bench, and that the changes are going to come, or that particular change, what we're talking about, it had put another dimension into our play.
And it did, Brent, because Jamani, I think I'll have to find out how you pronounce his name, but every time he's been brought on, he is effective, massively effective, and he were immediately within 5 minutes.
He's a constant. He's a constant threat.
He's a menace.
He is, and it's no surprise again that he did it last week against Ashton, and he's done it again yesterday, where he had a part in the he played a part in the goal that we scored. Now again, coming back to the Steeton argument, because if you're wearing green, I can imagine that certain people are listening to this now and going, thinking, what's he talking about? Of course we deserved the point. They only got a goal off a penalty. I can hear that as well, but I'm not talking about, we probably were fortunate to get a penalty. I mean, probably if that penalty were given again, I weren't close enough to see, and I wear bleeding glasses anyway. So what the blinking chance have I got to see whether it were a penalty or not? But the lads who were close to it, they will have an opinion of whether it were a penalty or it weren't a penalty. I mean, it definitely struck him. He was definitely on ball, but how you define if it's
natural position and all that stupid.
All that comes into it. So yeah, I mean, it used to be basic, didn't it? If you raise your hand to the ball
to hand and to ball,
ball to hand. Hand to ball, raise your hand to the ball. It's a penalty. But if the ball hits you, it weren't a penalty because you haven't raised your hand. Now it gets a bit bleeding complicated. If you're blinking 2 meters away from your body, then it's in an unnatural position. It's blinking bonkers.
You're hitting the ball from 2 yards away at 100 mile an hour. How are you supposed to get your hand out of the way?
Yeah. So, to be fair to Steeton, in that respect,
they were probably a bit cruel.
It were probably a bit. They would probably feel a bit grieved and hard done by, and basically on the balance of how the play went after that, because of a refereeing decision, when we were down to 10 men, then Steeton probably might have thought if they hadn't got that penalty, we'd have seen that game out. It's always buts and maybes, but all I can look at is what I saw in front of my eyes in possession stakes. We had more possession, a lot more possession than they had. We were controlling the game more than they were. They were picking up. They were getting in at us through our where we failed. That's what they were doing. They were capitalising. They weren't creating their own situations like we were. They were capitalising on our mistakes, on wrong decisions we were making. So I can see it a little bit, but I don't. Like I said, if we're being friendly, for a draw's a fair result. But I just think on reflection, it wasn't a fair result. I just think that we've got to be more. I think we've got to be more. Ruthless. We've got to be more ruthless. I think we've got to make sure we're doing them forward. These little five-a-side blinking passes for me, they're neither here nor there. But it's a shame, to be honest. I mean, even the second half, it's a shame, and I honestly believe that we would have gone on and on, but we can't say it. We've done the subs. We've got Jamani on the pitch now. We offer something different, and he was always a menace and always a constant threat. I do firmly believe more chances would have come and we would have gone on to win the game. But that's all hindsight. That's all ifs, buts, or maybes, and it didn't happen. But it didn't happen because of an incident that happened right in front of my very eyes. And do you know what I get annoyed about? And this is why managers, when the Northwest Counties or any league start having a go and saying about discipline or indiscipline in technical areas, they're not at games. The discipline panel of the Northwest Counties League or even the Lancashire Football Association or Cheshire Football, they're not at games. They don't see what happens. They don't see what's gone on. All they see in front of them, that there's been something happened, an incident, and a manager or a coach has overstepped the mark and been binned from the technical area, right?
And automatically they jump to the defence of the official in charge on the day.
Correct, and it's always wrong. And I'll be honest with you, I'll share this with you because I went into the referee's room at full time when the 20 minutes thing and he was sat there with, listen, they've now got coaches.
Coach as well. They don't want to call them.
I don't know whether the coach is the assessor. I don't think he is. I think it's a different scenario. I think the coaches are coaches. They go, they follow them. They're coaching them like you would coach a football player, right? Assessors are there to do another job, which aren't coaching them. They're there to assess are they good enough.
If he's a coach, Brent, just digress a bit, but if he's a coach on the day and he's supposed to be a coach, would it not be better to have him wired up?
Well, I think that's a good point.
Shouldn't that be the next step? If you're going to coach at a game, just get him a couple of headsets, one for the coach and one for the ref in the middle, and talk him through in real time.
Well, maybe, yeah. I think that's not a bad idea. That I mean, we played a game at the start of in one of the friendlies. I think it was one of the friendlies.
They were all wired. I think it was a proper official who brought all the kit.
all the kit, and they were all wired up, and they were having conversations. And I think that's it. And I've said it before about when you've got young lads. Listen, let's have it right. The three officials on the day, and I know that people have got to start somewhere, but the stakes are high at these levels of football, because you've got to remember you're talking about, we're not talking amateur game. When you're in the National League system, whatever level you're in, you're talking about the National League system, promotion, relegation. Yes, there's promotion, relegation in the amateur league, but it doesn't, if you go from one dog and duck league to the next dog and duck league, it doesn't matter. You've just gone from one to the other. If no disrespect, the Manchester League is a very, very good league, and I've just witnessed that myself from being part of it with our shadow squad. The way they run the league, the committee, everything else, I've been quite impressed with it up to now in how they do things. But the fact of the matter is, if you were relegated in the Manchester League from the Premier Division to Division 1 or whatever, it's not going to affect your history.
You're not losing financially, are you?
You're not. No, exactly. So, but in the National League system, everything is geared. It's a costly exercise. We've just had to go through, like every club does, but we've had to have, before we started our league program, 7 days prior, the guy from Stadium Power has come out to view our facility, along with being chaperoned by a representative by the North West Counties League.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it's nothing to do with the North West Counties League, but now it's gone to Stadium Power. But we had to have that done, and there were things where he's basically said, well, I need that little things like when you come down the steps from the decking. I mean, let's be honest, yesterday that decking were a magnet to everybody. Everybody wanted to be on the decking to overview the game, which is fantastic. But when you come down the steps, right, there's a gap where there's grass before you go on to hard standing, to pathway where you can't have grass because you can't walk on grass.
Yeah.
But as daft as it seems, so we had to put in matting, hard standing between that little bit. Now it might not seem a lot, but it is a lot when you in the cold light of things, because it's another cost.
Yeah.
If you can't you're doing it right, it costs you for the matting, it costs you for the sand, costs you if you're making it concrete, it costs you to make the concrete. It's all a cost. There's cost. Football is a cash cow. It's as simple as everything is a cost. To the point of even signage, we have to tell people now that the grand toilets where they're situated. It's a cost to have that sign made. So at the end of the day, everything is a cost. So the bottom line is we had to be ground graded 7 days before we kicked off our season yesterday at home, right? To pass ground grading. So my point being, there's money involved, and where there's money involved. So if any team in our level of football, as we've seen, are finishing in the bottom three, more than likely the bottom one, well, it's not more than likely, it will happen, will go down through the trap door, and they will go then into a feeder league, which is nothing like what we're playing in. So all the investment that you've put in, you could lose because you got relegated into one of them. Now, how does relegation? It's easy. The easiest thing in the world is for anybody to talk about relegation, and you talk about a team, and you might go about a team. Oh, they've been poor this season. The form hasn't been good. They've lost. But when you look at it, and if it's fine margins all through the season, and a team's been losing by the odd game somewhere odd goal somewhere along the line, right? And you really analyse into that and how these things have happened, and then they've lost key players because of a referee's decision, right? It doesn't necessarily come down to, at the end of the day, that they've been the worst team in the league because of performances on the pitch.
Something else has
impacted, and these officials have got to understand, in my eyes, have to understand. And I'm not privy, but I think when they're being coached and before they even take to a North West Counties League game, I think what should be happening is they should be in a classroom, and the guy at the county FA who's on money, who's addressing them because they're wanting to get referees into the system, should be educating them and telling them the importance of making sure they get everything right, or as much as they can get right, because of the importance and what that can lead to in terms from a club's perspective, and in terms of a club's kind of discipline situation or indiscipline situation. It's all relevant. Now, I don't think them things happen. I think they just think, without the beautiful game, we wouldn't have a beautiful game if we don't have officials. We haven't got the officials anymore. Nobody wants to be a referee. And if we don't start recruiting and get referees in, we're going to be in a mess because we're not enough to people to go around. So what they're doing is the old adage. They're getting people in, not training them up right, not linking, just doing brief training, fast tracking them in, and then throwing them into blinking games in the National League system where the stakes are high, and they're making absolute bloomers. And that second yellow for Carl Siddall yesterday, I'm sorry, but it was a blinking absolute ridiculous situation. Even the liner stood right outside of me, even said to Mom, everybody around us heard him say, I seen what's happened. Yeah. So we're going mad and saying to him, well, get him told. Well, yeah. You need to tell him. You need to step in and tell him. But the trouble is, when you're getting irate like that and you start having a go like that, next thing that happens, the blinking man in the middle sees you getting a bit irate, and then he'll start saying, you red card you, and you're in, before you know where you are, you're out the technical area.
Rather than silencing you through dialogue and communication, if it's a quick fix just to give you the card.
Exactly. Just calms things down in their eyes.
Talk.
So, yeah, exactly. And he's seen it, and the lad's literally kicked out of him. Now, this referee yesterday, and I know people will turn around on you who weren't even at the game, we're on about referees again. Well, I'm sorry, we are, because it's important. Because we've ended up, and it could be another team tomorrow, it could be another team, right? We've ended up on a second yellow, right? We'll not argue the first yellow, even though I had a question about the first yellow, but I will argue till the cows come home on the second yellow, because if you've played the game of football, the first thing I would say, right, there are different types of footballers, right? So let's say, for instance, you're a central midfield player and you're a ball winner, and you come in at somebody really, really aggressively, and you leave your foot off the ground and you catch somebody, all day long, you're going to get a yellow card. You could even get a red card because you could say it's reckless, right? Yeah. No. You've got to understand the game, right, and understand what's happened. But also in that situation, you've also got to take into consideration the state of the pitch. So if it's wet and you've got somebody that comes in, right, that's because it's a wet pitch, but he's an aggressive player, right, and he happens to go in and his timing's wrong, because the pitch is slippy and it takes him through and takes him through them. You've got to make some allowances for that.
Yeah, because you can't just stop dead.
Exactly. So you've got to, but these blinking idiots sometimes, all right, yeah, there you go. It was reckless. But
doesn't that come, Brent? And we've had it with VAR in the last couple of weeks. People say that. They say ex-pros should be in the VAR booth and all this, and I totally agree. I think they should. But you've got to have played the game. But the chances are, if you're 18, 19, 20, and you're already at our level, step 6 in the referee pyramid, that tells me you've not played the game.
Well, I asked him the question, and he said, yeah, I've played the game. Well, where's he played in it? Nursery.
Well, yeah, because if he's at our level and he's going to be hopefully going to professional, and he's only young, there's not a big window there to play the game.
Well, that's right. But the annoying part, this is where it all comes down to, where there's a collective of indiscipline can come into a situation. So let's move a bit further. So different types of players. So you've got different types of players. So in terms of a Kyle Siddall is a player that's got good feet. It's tricky. Drop a shoulder, quick out and go. right? He's gone. So he can leave you very, very quickly. He could leave you on your heels, on your backside, right? Very, very quick, right? That's the kind of player he is, and he's kind of can be a bit of an explosive player. And when I mean explosive, I don't mean in his mannerism. I mean going away with the ball, right? So the fact is, you've got to understand different types of players. Now, you've also got to understand the game. Now, if you're a player that's on the ball and you're being closely marked, and you're riddling away, and all of a sudden he's faint to go one way, but then come back out quickly the other way, and you're getting away and gaining the advantage at this point, and a lad grabs hold of you, right, and pulls you back, and so you can't gain the advantage. Automatically, your blinking hand's going to go like that
to try and get rid of him.
To get rid of him, So he's gone round because he wants to go. You can see the wind, and he wants to go. So he goes like that. Now, in this instance, right, he's gone like, and as he's put, the lad has gone through him, and he's absolutely kicked his knee. He's literally gone through him and kicked his knee. Now, they're players, and this is the annoying part, and I saw everything, and I've got to have a bit of a go at my players here about this, right, a little bit, because it's he who shouts the loudest gets.
Yes.
And all I heard at this point was their players all going round the referee, intimidating him, and basically saying, he had him in an headlock, he had him in an headlock, he had him in an headlock. That's all I kept hearing him saying. There was no mention about the freaking player that's gone through him and kicked his knee and freaking absolutely swiped out and kicked him. Right? All I'm hearing
in the first place.
Correct. Now, my players who were around him, I'm not being funny, and they're good lads, but attitude. Sometimes you need these weak referees who's through learning the game. It's he who shouts loudest. So if you're a bit of an aggressor, so if I'm on the pitch and I'm a bit of an aggressor,
you've got to blur his vision.
Come on, referee! I'm not being funny. He's just freaking absolutely gone through him. He's bloody kicked him. He's done this. He's done that. He's done that. Come on. You shout loudest. If you shout loudest, you get
chaos in the referee's mind.
Exactly. But I think our lads were like pussy blinking round him and saying, "Ref, come on, ref. You know, you saw that, ref." Well, that's no good. They were like freaking absolutely going at him.
Yeah.
Credit
to Steeton for all sticking together.
Well, that's what they did, and it was the players that got him sent off because the referee didn't see nothing. The liner did. I did. It was in my line here, right? I saw everything, and he got him sent off. They got him sent off.
I had Josh Chapman in front of me, who's the media guy for Steeton. He turned around to me and he went, "What's that all about?"
Honestly,
he was bewildered like I was.
It was ridiculous. It was the most ridiculous. So this is what. So what I'm saying is that then at this point has a knock-on effect because what you've got then in a situation, it didn't happen yesterday. And one thing that it could have had with me because I'm highly strung, right? But how I held myself together, I don't really know. But I did, right? But the thing were, at this point, their bench is thinking, obviously backing their players.
Yeah.
I could have turned to their bench and said, "Shut the fuck up, you fucking idiots." Right? So you start getting involved in the fucking bench. You get me? This is what happens.
It's a bit petty, and it's all been created by the man in the middle.
Correct. And then if you turn around and start having a go at him and saying what the FA and everybody, they look at it and they think, well, you shouldn't be like that. You've got to accept it. But hang on, the stakes are high. How are you going to accept something that's totally wrong? Yeah. Are you gonna sit there if somebody's broke a window and you've literally seen him break a window, go into a shop, right, through that window, grab something off the shelf and run out, right? But the person who's there watching it gets pulled for it and they say, you're the one that's brought that window. Are you going to stand there and accept it? Or are you going to stand there and say, I ain't brought that window?
Yeah,
I haven't done that. It's common sense. You're going to react. So my point being, Steve, is that at this point, a manager, coaches on the line, could react to the referee. But if you react to the referee, the next thing that happens, and you can go as well. So you're binned. And before you know where we are, it's a car crash through one freaking stupid, ridiculous blinking situation that this person in the middle who were typically out of his depth, right, has created.
I would say out of his depth at this stage. I don't know the story behind him, whether he's been fast tracked or whatever it may be. But it looked like he was.
100% he was, right.
Struggling.
So let me take it one step further, right? So this is now where they've got, and this isn't arguing about Cal Sidall now. This is arguing for football in general, because if it's happened to us today, it could happen to Steeton on the other foot tomorrow. Yeah. It could happen to Nelson on another day. It could happen to Darwin on another day. So my point, what I'm trying to make is the authorities, before they start fast-tracking people in because there's a shortage, they've got to take more responsibility before they do these things. Because we, the clubs and the players, are faced. I've had a message from Cal Sidall, distraught, right, this morning. I've woke up to it this morning, right? Is there nothing you can do? Because it's a bigger picture. He said, the guy's kicked my blinking knee, he's kicked me, and nothing's happened to him. Right, nothing's happened, and I'm the goal.
Can we appeal it?
Can we appeal it? The answer is we can't appeal it. It's a second yellow. We cannot appeal it. But the bottom line is, the other thing is where it messes the lad. So now the lad's got a fine from the FA that he'll have to fine and pay. Right. The next thing is that we've got a squad where, you know, when you look at it, you've got people like, you know, Conor Morris, you know, I'm just looking in forward, you know, like Mason Fallon and people like that that's playing at Lincoln Salford in the shadow squad because they're waiting for the opportunity to get it back in. Yeah. So straight away, that decision of that official, which is totally wrong, right, has created a bigger problem for a lad that's innocent.
Yeah, the fine is one thing, but the chances of him losing his place in the team is even bigger.
It's bigger. So that he might get a one-match ban, but it might take him 3 weeks to get back in team.
Yeah. Especially with our squad, with the quality we've got.
100%. So there's no guarantee he's going to come back straight away. You know, I can't predict them things, but if they all know the score on the door. That, you know, you've got the shoes to give it back. Now, okay, people could argue and say, well, he's give it back by his indiscipline. No, because we're just telling you here, the official got it 100% wrong. And they've got in his head, and he's gone with what they've gone with. Now, I'll tell you what I said when I went into his room, and his coach was sat there. Now, I'm not privy, but I'm privy to something that one of my staff, and it was a female staff, obviously had to go into their room after because to pay their expenses and everything.
Yeah.
Overheard the coach, and it sounded like he was getting, but it sounded, this is where the words that came to me, it sounded like he was getting a bollocking. Right? It sounded like, this is what we're told to me, the guy's gone. So talk to me through what happened in the 84th minute. Yeah. You tell me. So it sounded like he was having a pop at him about what happened in the 84th minute.
Yeah.
Correct. Now I've gone in on 20 minutes and asked if I can go in. He sat there, so they let me in. Now he's obviously getting a dressing down off his coach. I'll be honest, I've just gone in there. I'm not asking for I'm telling him what I've seen.
Yeah.
So I said to him, and this is my exact words, and I think you'll understand when I say this. And I said to him, listen, you'll not be the first referee, and you'll certainly not be the last referee that will take something personal when a player has reacted to not getting protected in a game. I said, I'm going to tell you what's happened in this game today. There are certain players in teams, whether it's at the highest level or the lowest level, that are players that, other players kind of can't handle because they're that kind. One that comes to my mind, even though he's, we're not going into it, Garnacho at United, who's gone down to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Very, very good on his day. Very, very good player, right? And can create space from nothing, right? From his technical ability. Even if we go into modern day, into our league, and we go to Lewis Byrne, who's now at Chariton, right? That kind of player. You've seen it last week on the video that you put up last week, on the still that you put up last week. Exactly. He can create something from nothing. He can get away from man because he can. And he can get away from a man because he's very, very skillful, right? Now, if somebody comes and wipes him out and continually keeps wiping him out, frustration gets in. He wants protection. Yeah. So if he wants protection, so it's not it's not nothing personal, but if you're a highly strong person, the amount of time I wish in all my career, I got £50 for every time somebody said to me, "Why are you shouting at me? Why are you being aggressive towards me?" It's my mannerism. Yeah. I'm being a bit aggressive now on here.
Correct.
Right?
It's the way your voice works.
It's just exactly. So they say, "Stop talking to me like that. Why are you talking to me like that?" Hang on, I'm not talking to you. It's just
I talk to everyone like that.
Exactly. So the fact of the matter is, in the game of football, when you're in heat of battle and you've been floored, and you get up and you're not getting any blinking thing, and you're slamming your hand on the floor. Yeah. Where's my protection, referee? Right. And you turn around to the referee and say, "Where's my protection, ref? I want protecting." That's a free kick all day long. And then it happens again.
How many times, referee? How many times?
How many times? Yeah. So straight away, I think what's happened is this referee's thinking, "I don't like him. He's having a go at me. I don't like him." So he can't wait to get his own back.
But that comes down to a lack of maturity.
Correct. And that's just what I'm getting at, Steve. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
The old Ed would have a word with Kyle and say, "Listen, I've seen it, I've spotted it," or he'd say something like, "Shut up and play the game." But at least there'd be a conversation taking place.
Correct.
With the young kid, he said nothing.
He said nothing. And then next thing, he shows him a card. And then when they're telling him in the second half, he's had him in an headlock. He's had him in an headlock. He's had him in an headlock. Blah, 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 blah. They're not bothered. He's not even taking the thing. What about the blinking kicking him? He's gaining advantage. He's going and he's freaking wiped him out.
Well, that's the green light then, isn't it? That's the golden ticket.
Correct. So yeah, exactly. So I said to the referee in that room, I said, "So I'm telling you," "I'm telling you now that you could not wait to give him a yellow card. You'll not be the first, you'll not be the last. Not because of the incident, because you're trying to get it personal, because he's reacted to your lack of how you've handled situations against him, right? And you don't like the way he's speaking to you on a football pitch. So what you've done, the first chance you've got, so then what you've done on this incident, you've gone with the shout from then, right? They've shouted at you, and because they've shouted at you, that's what's made you give him a yellow. Another yellow, and you've second yellowed him and binned him." I said, all because of the shout. You have not handled that on your own because you haven't seen it. Your liner had. You've not even addressed your liner.
But also what normally happens as well, Brent, in them situations, and it didn't happen yesterday, because when he did give the card out, there was still the cluster of players. The first thing you do, you tell everyone to get away.
Yeah.
And you talk to the two players in question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was a clusterfuck.
And then 5 minutes later,
in the same place.
And 5 minutes later, I mean, listen, anybody can do this. I understand this, but he's lost it at this point.
Oh, yes.
He's lost it. And 5 minutes later,
his card's wrong,
Michael Gervin, as his first challenge of the day, which it were a booking. I'm not going to say it were the book, but he's pulled a straight red at him.
I know. That means Ed's gone.
Ed gone. His head had gone. Pulls a straight red, but he weren't obviously corrected it. Oh, yeah, and he didn't even
by that point.
Oh, honestly, and but my point to this is not listen. All I'm trying to say in this show, it's not defending Kyle as it is a little bit, but I'm trying to get over to people the enormity of their job in the middle. And it's them in the middle that can create a car crash for a football club. And I know that the people of authority, like your blinking North West Counties Management Committee, will be listening to this and say, well, sort your team out, Brent, sort your team out. There should be more. Hang on, but John, in the real world, where the stakes are high, and you go in, it's not about. We're not playing. It's not blinking. Church brigade football. It's just blinking. It's passion. It's people that's running high. Yes, they can't overstep the mark. I understand that, but them in the middle have a big responsibility, and you can't just blinking willy-nilly throw cards at them and sending off because there's a bigger picture. They'll go home and enjoy their Saturday night when they go home, right? Because that's it. It doesn't matter. I've refereed this game today. It doesn't matter. There's an enormity because that player loses his place in the team. He gets fined. And what I'm trying to say is, if he deserved it, then you'd say he deserves it 100%. It's tough. You've got to take your medicine. You've got to have your medicine and put up with it. That's what it is. But in this instance, it wasn't. The innocent lad has got absolutely shafted.
Yeah, and nobody in the ground apart from the referee knows why it happened.
Correct. But that's what we're dealing with, but it's only by shows like this and me getting my point across.
It's the only opportunity you have of expressing and telling your side of,
and I just think that the powers that be. Listen, I know that there is a shortage, and I know they've got to get people in, but I don't think that the FA do enough in educating these people in the enormity of getting everything right in terms of what they're about. I mean, like even the situations even before a game of checking this and checking that, checking technical areas, checking. I mean, to be fair to him, he must have checked the penalty because he wanted some more paint on the penalty spot, but it was quite obvious where the penalty spot were. But he wanted some more paint on the penalty spot. Fair enough, no problem.
Which isn't a problem. Yeah.
It's not a problem. We'll put more paint on the penalty spot. So, but I kind of think when they're in a classroom and they're being educated about the roles of their response, they're so powerful in a game of football at every level, and it doesn't matter at every level. It always comes down to refereeing decisions, and it shouldn't do. Yes, they have to make decisions. But this is a decision that has led to a sending off where we're one man down, and really could have cost us the game because of his. Yeah. If we'd have lost that game in that last 10 minutes,
been a sickener.
But who's that down to? That was only down to because of one person.
Yeah,
because he's got that wrong on that second yellow.
And it would have been easily solved through communicating.
Correct. And this is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, so good points, Ben. Good points. Going to move on now to, some of that during the week. Paul Simpson, good friend of Bacup Borough Football Club, been on the show many moons ago. Good friend of yours. You often communicate with him on LinkedIn. He was posting about taking up a job in America with the American Federation. Now, I thought this was absolutely bonkers. We have a coach here with so much experience, won the World Cup with England, the under-20s, back in 2017, I believe, having to go to other shores to get a job. What's that all about? We've spoke about it before. It's bonkers.
Well, it is bonkers, and I sent him a message and said to him, Paul, I can't. This is. It just makes my blood boil that good coaches are having to leave England, and English coaches at that, to get to get work. Here we have, and you're rightly so, and you've done obviously your due diligence on it. You're right. he's the only England coach, manager, call him what you want, that's won a World Cup. You know, he won the FIFA Under-20s World Cup in 2017. Vast experience, obviously come through, been a big part of the backroom team from Gareth Southgate. And what you've got to remember, when we're talking about situations like this, it's easy to look at and watch the England team yesterday and watch the players that's participating. But you've got to remember, even when the World Cup comes next year, there's a process behind them. It's like anything, even in a football club. There's a lot of coaches.
Pathway within the national
pathway in a pathway, and they know, and they're monitoring these people. Like, they'll know on database, all the good players that's coming through at your top clubs, like your leading clubs, like your Chelseas and your Liverpools and your Man U's and all those clubs. Will know the best players that's coming through, like at under 15, under 18s and 21s, and they're getting the England set up, and they're kind of progressing them on that front. So they know, but they've got good coaches in the system. Now, is that not the same as why the annoying part for me is that it costs us a lot of money to get your licenses, especially your pro license. I think I've gone on and had a look this morning. Right, you're talking in the region of £10,000 to £12,000 to get your pro license.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you're going to pay £10,000 to £12,000 to get your pro license,
you want a job at the end of it.
You want a job, you want to be like, you want to be there and getting a job. You might not get a front liner initially, no, but at least you're in the system, and at least you're working up, and
earning your stripes.
You'll get the job that you deserve and you want. But we're getting dismissed. These people are getting dismissed out of the system, and it's wrong. And especially when you think about why are we pointing a blinking? I come back to this. Listen, I ain't got nothing about Thomas Tuchel. Nothing. I ain't got nothing. If Chelsea wanted to appoint him as their manager, right, then that's fine. That's up to Chelsea. But why is a German? And it don't matter whether you're a blinking German, Dutchman, or whoever, are we appointing for our national side? It should be at least a British person that's in charge of your national team.
Well, you make exactly the same point, Brent, that Michael Owen made in an interview with Rio. If you've not watched the interview with Michael Owen and you want to see the real side of Michael Owen, which is quite interesting, go and watch it, because he said exactly what you just said there. If we've got an England team, it should be the best of English. And that includes the coaching staff, in his eyes.
I agree. I mean, listen, what is it? Can you let's cut this down. Let's cut it back. If you're in the England setup, can you play in an international game an Irish player?
Well, no.
Exactly. You can't. You're playing English. You've got to play English
for a second.
No. Can you play? Can you play a Dutch player? No, you can't. Your English team is made up of the best, or potentially the best of England.
This is what Michael was saying. He said, I don't understand. We've got all these fantastic English coaches, yet we're going to get a German on board. It don't make sense. It should be the best of England, from the playing staff through to the coaching staff.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%.
It's the best of that country.
And I mean, listen, why should, if Paul Simpson's been in the system and Paul Simpson has done what he's done, I'm not fun. Whether you agree, people agree and think, well, he's only been at Carlisle United since at City, or Carlisle United, sorry. He's only been at It doesn't matter. If he's in the system, surely you're better off going for Paul Simpson, who knows the system, who knows everything about the build up, because he's been a big part of Gareth Southgate's situation, than to bring a German in. You'd rather have him than a German. You get me? And I'm not being. This is not nothing about national. It's about principles. You can't have it, and this is what I'm saying. This is the old adage where people always say it doesn't matter what you know, it's who you know, and it is you know. Listen, I took a step into football, right? There is probably better people when I were going into football that were probably more equipped, better equipped than I were when I started off and went into football, right? Yeah. But because I knew people, I got my break.
Well, that's good of you to say that, Brent, because a lot of people won't just say what you did, but you're telling us it was a fact that you got your face in the right places because of the people you knew and associated with.
100%.
You weren't, delusional to think you were the bee's knees.
No. There were people better equipped than me. Probably, even with academies at clubs that were probably better equipped at coaching than what I were at the time. But I knew people that were well respected in the game, good people. I've mentioned it plenty of time on here.
And they gave you your break.
And they've given me a break. I mean, I still carry around with, Brian Flynn. Actually, I was shortlisted for Northwich Victoria many, many, many years ago when they were one of the top non-league clubs around, and a lot of that were on the back of a reference from Brian Flynn, that was a Welsh international, been Wrexham's manager, been a top player at Leeds United and Burnley, Wales manager and everything. That's but that's what I mean. So some people could have been, when I've got my break into football, thinking, how's Brent Peters got there? I'm better than Brent Peters, which, let's be honest, they were. But it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's what gets you into the systems. And this is what I'm saying now about the Thomas Tuchel.
But why, not the Thomas Tuchel, but why is somebody like Paul Simpson, who's proven at international level, wins the World Cup with the under-20s, why has that not been allowed to continue? Why is he having to go to America to get a job?
Yeah, that's what it. Yeah. And the message he put back to
his qualities.
The message that Paul put back to me, he said to me, I'll quote what he said. He said to me is, "They're complaining that there is a lack of pro license holders in this country because everybody is giving up to this country. They're giving up to it, because the country's not supporting their own."
Correct. So you go and get a pro license, but really what they're saying indirectly is that the pro license ain't worth toffee, because we ain't going to give you a job in your own country where you actually acquired your license.
Yeah, exactly. It's not right, is it?
It sends the wrong messages.
It sends the wrong message, and then you get, if we strip it all back as well. If we strip it all back, listen, we can all have discussions and we can all have our opinions about who were the best England manager over years and everything else. I mean, one of the best for me, and a lot of modern day won't remember him or whatever, but you'll remember him. We're Terry Venables, but because Terry Venables had baggage, they didn't want him. But listen.
No, but when Terry Venables was in charge, because he was in charge of '96, the Euros, with Teddy Sheringham and Alan Shearer, when we ripped the arse out of Holland 4-1 at Wembley, and of course the Gaza goal against Scotland, for me that was one of the best eras of watching England play in '96.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
Personally, I think the shame was when they didn't want to give it to Brian Clough, because he's not a yes man.
Yeah, well, there you go, and this is what brings me to the Thomas Tuchel situation now. There's obviously somebody within the FA setup, the England setup of the FA, that has made this decision. You know, because why would you make this decision? And it's somebody that's obviously close to Thomas Tuchel, so that the decision's made. And why?
Like you're taking England down a different path.
Exactly. It's not right. It's not. And I think, listen, I suppose you can't. I suppose you can't control who owns a football club, whether it's a foreigner. But this is a big problem that this country's got as well, because we're one of the leaders in world football in terms of, you know, the Premier League and everything else, and so we're an attraction to, you know, the money people of overseas. You know, your sheiks and people like that. We're an attraction, but I kind of think that the more that there's foreign owners, that straight away is attracting the foreign managers.
Yeah,
and that's why eventually this country, if we don't put a lid on it somehow, somewhere, is going to end up being a wash at all your top clubs, a wash of foreign players.
Yeah.
You know, you look at that. You know, look, I see there isn't a week goes by where I don't mention Manchester United, right? Yeah. There isn't a week goes by.
That's your club.
But how many British people are in that team?
Oh, well, it's top heavy, isn't it, on foreigners? But what happened to the ruling? We used to have the ruling a few years ago, didn't we, Brent? Where you've got to play so many homegrown players. I think we need to go back there.
Well, correct. Something needs to be done. I mean, if you go back to the Fergie era at Man United, look how many British players were in the Man United team then.
Yeah.
You know, you know, I'm saying British, you know, because obviously Giggs were, you know, Welsh.
But I also think that's the reason why we don't push on. We just spoke about Paul Simpson, under 20s. That team, that squad, that body of players won the World Cup at that age group. Now, the fact that we've not continued, or half of them players probably aren't getting game time. They've had to slip down the leagues. They're probably in the Championship and League One.
That's what I mean. You know what I mean? The football over here, when you think about it, it's not that, you know, the old system. It's not. It has a knock-on effect from top to bottom, because of the situation that, you know, you've got a foreign owner, right? Foreign manager brings in these foreign principles, foreign coaches, foreign players.
It's not benefited England or Britain.
Exactly. And it needs somehow, somewhere, there's a thought process needs to stop this happening, because, like you just said, it's not helping. It's not helping anybody.
No. But we wish Paul all the best, don't we? Because, you know, he's a cracking lad, isn't he? A good man.
Yeah, he's a good man, and he's a people's man. I mean, you know, like I said, he there's no. Listen, if you're trying to get, if we went to get Gareth Southgate to come on our rewind show, or sports bar show, as it were at the time,
you do that. No chance. No.
But you know what? Listen, it's not only Paul Simpson. I mean, listen, from the England setup, we had Adrian Bevington on as well, another cracking guy, and Paul Parker. Yeah, exactly. We've had, you know, the good lads, and the people's. They're a people's person. Yeah, football people, and they're happy to come on and talk, and you know, and it's funny all through that when he won the World Cup. I mean, I can imagine him being in his room at night when he's planning on, you know, he's had lunch, and then he's going on and he's getting his mind set on games. He was still answering messages from me, you know, when I was sending him messages, you know, good luck in next game, absolutely fantastic. He were dialoguing with me.
Yeah,
you know,
even at such a crucial moment.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, we're dialoguing. You know, that makes special. That for me, special people.
Proper Cumbrian.
Yeah, Well, he's not really Cumbrian though, is he? He's from down here.
Isn't it? Yeah, Manchester.
Yeah. But no, we wish him all the best. But it's a shame that that these coaches that's invested and got the experience that Paul's got has got to leave, the shores of Great Britain to go for pastures new, like in this instance, the US Federation.
Massive.
It's not right, but like you say, we wish him all the best.
Yeah. Well, that brings me on to someone else who never forgets Bacup Borough or never forgets to communicate, and she never forgot who where it all started. And that's our very own Stump Peg, YouTube sensation, Sky Sports. And she was in an interview, I think it was just last week, or during the week. We got a couple of mentions, and I managed to just record them, Brent. But this was the first one, and I thought this was just absolutely brilliant. She's been interviewed by so many people, but she never really forgets, her beginnings.
Giving you, it's, for example, let's say I go to Bacup, which is a non-league club, 10th tier, and I'm chatting to Brent for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Who's the manager of the club. I chat to Deborah, who looks after the clubhouse. I chat to her for 10 minutes. That really, I'll end up reducing that to about 3 minutes each. So I want to get the absolute best things that were said there, and only I really know that. And what I want, the story I want to tell about these two characters in their club, and it means a lot to me that when I go to these football clubs that I do it justice. Because my one big goal is, I want you to learn from the video a little bit, but I also want you to be, by the end of it, I want you to be fond of the club that you've just watched the video about.
Have like a soft spot for them.
So it means a lot to me that I really do them justice.
She certainly did us justice, mate, didn't she?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, listen, you sat there listening to it, you don't know what's coming, and then all of a sudden you're shocked because you think, wow, out of all the clubs that Stump Peg Neve has visited all over the world, and I mean all over the world, and she just brings up Bacup Borough.
This is where she actually mentions Bacup Borough being in her top 5. You rightly say she's been all over the world, and she's asked the question, and she answers like this.
Travel a lot, although sounds like you do it the longer way. But top 5 places. So best places you've been to watch football.
Oof. Probably say every
in
time.
Reverse order. Let's go 5 to 1.
5.
Are you doing this by atmosphere or just enjoying? How you doing this?
Well, maybe not atmosphere, because I might just do 5 very, very random ones.
Go on,
the first ones that sort of come to mind.
The best 5 places that Neve has visited football. In reverse order, number 5.
But it's going to be for their own reasons.
I love it. Go on.
Do you know what? I'm going to say Bacup Borough 5.
Okay.
Do you know, that was one of the times where I've come away from it thinking, you guys are legends. Like Brent and Deborah have committed over 20 years to this football club.
Yeah.
Just purely for the community.
I like that.
It's so selfless.
So that's 5.
Yeah.
4th best place.
Selfless, Brent.
Fantastic.
When you hear that kind of stuff, I know it kind of makes you quite emotional that someone has gone out of the way to, her world is absolutely 100 mile an hour. Sky Sports, TV, YouTube, you name it. But she's got a place in her mind for Bacup Borough and for yourself and Deborah and just the atmosphere and everything that's about the club. And then she states it on a massive live stream like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're just us. We're just normal people that's doing something for the community and keeping, the club going, and the history of the club. And somebody like you say, it is emotional because the reason why it's emotional, because if you love football and you love sport, and you know that she's visited many countries and
South
many
America, Asia. She's been, it's San Siro. She's been everywhere.
She's been everywhere. Yeah, exactly.
She enjoys walking down that back street.
and then she's doing this interview, you know, and I actually enjoyed it. You forget the Bacup parts of it. That just were the icing on the cake.
Do go and watch
on the top.
I've got it on the it's on the social media. So if you want to go and watch it, give it a click. It's well worth. I think it's 1 hour. It's quality.
It was quality. And you know what? I've got to give him the guy who was doing the interview. I thought because they both bounced things off each other. It was brilliant.
He gets it.
He gets it, and it would loads of credit because I'm not one for sitting listening for an hour, you know, to a podcast. I'm not one for doing that. But you know what? I really thoroughly enjoyed everything about it. And then it just blew me away when the Bacup bit come in. You know,
I wasn't expecting that.
Oh no, exactly, and it really, really blew me away. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I got a bit emotional then. You know, it made me emotional when I watched it. You know, I thought, wow, you know. But listen, you know, it's not about that for us. We're doing it for the club, but because somebody's recognised it and recognises what we do,
and then puts it out onto a global platform.
You know, it's unbelievable. And so thanks for that, Neve, if you're watching this, and you know, we're really appreciative of it. But
hopefully we'll see her. I know she's always busy, but hopefully we'll see her this season sometime.
Yeah, hopefully we will. You know, she never. Well, as you know, and I mean, it's not like
in fact, we could actually invite her for the grand opening, couldn't we?
We could, yeah. We could. You're right. Yeah. You know, it's a good idea. Yeah. But it were fantastic, and it were fantastic to hear, and fantastic. It really, really, the whole interview was top draw. Really were.
Well, we've got a game coming up now. We've got a couple of midweeks. Of course, we're playing catch up a little bit compared to the other sides. Nelson on Wednesday night. There will be some changes, but it's like with this squad now, Brent, it's really difficult because we've got quality players. And I saw it yesterday. You've got quality sat on that bench. How, as a manager, are you going to keep everyone happy? How does it work?
Well, the most important thing is you can't. One thing you don't want to be doing. This is me. One thing you want. Every manager says it on every level of football. You want continuity. You don't want disruption. If everything's going, it's like anything else. It's like once you've started. I mean, listen. Our first 2 matches in the league, we've played a home match and an away match, and we've taken 4 points out of a possible 6. Right, that is good form.
And then, of course, the cup win before that. So every manager wants continuity. So they don't want to make changes unless they're forced to make changes. That said, right, there are situations. This will be a test this week, a big test for when you're playing Saturday to Saturday. Players get they can get quick recovery. You know, they can get recovery time from injuries. So get over a niggle, right? If you're playing Saturday midweek Saturday, you haven't got the same amount of recovery time. So what happens is that when you're playing Saturday to Saturday, the squad probably would not change, even if people have picked niggles up for the simple or the team may not change because they got over their niggles, right? And they're ready to go and they haven't missed training and they kick on. If you're playing a Saturday midweek, the chances are if somebody's took a niggle on the Saturday, there isn't as much recovery because you're playing again on Tuesday. As it happens, we play a day later than Tuesday, so that gives us a bit more recovery time. You follow me? Yeah.
But on the flip side to that, because you play Wednesday, if somebody picks one up on Wednesday, they haven't got as much recovery time to it the Saturday, right? So the issue you've got then, you need your squad because you've got quality and people can come in. The big disappointment at the minute for some of our players at the minute is because we haven't been playing a midweek game. So that scenario has not kicked in. We've obviously had Saturday, free week, Saturday, free week. So consequently, good quality players are either sat on the bench, or some of them that have, because they're coming back off because they come back off holiday and they can't break in. I've had to keep the fitness going and the match fitness going and sharpness, playing with the shadow squad. The difficulty is you can't shut them off because they're all important. So as a manager, it's important that where possible, I've got to communicate with them and keep talking to them, because it's easy to be focused and just focused on the lads who are with your team at that particular time. But there is a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And only last night, I kept in touch with, because I know, because where the game were going yesterday, I think I'm right in saying, did I only make how many? I'm just trying to think how many subs I made yesterday.
Liam came
on.
Oh
yeah, two subs. And
Jamani,
yeah. So out of 5 subs, only 2 came on. Right. So no, 3 came on. Actually, no, 3 came on because Jacob came
on. But the sending off would have thrown you. The sending off, Brent. I thought you were going to make another change, and you probably were.
Yeah, it worked.
It threw a spanner. It works.
It threw a spanner in the works to the sending off, because they were bringing Ty on. Ty were coming on, and Ty would have come on. We'd already talked about it, me and Alan. We got Ty getting ready, and then lo and behold, the sending off happened.
Yeah.
Would you believe Carl was the one coming off because he was on a yellow? And he'd worked his socks off. So, he'd done his bit for the team. He'd done well. So he was the one coming off. It's ironic, really. It's ironic this happened when it happened, because another probably 3 minutes he were coming off.
Yeah.
We were just waiting for Ty to get ready. But the disappointing is for these players, including Ty, he didn't get on, and it's frustrating, and I feel the pain and I feel the frustration, but everybody knows the game, everybody knows or knows how it all works. As long as the team's doing well and doing well, they're a big part of it. But as a manager, I've got to make sure they feel a big part of it, and I've got to make them make sure that I communicate with them. And I mean, last week I had a conversation, it was just a brief conversation, but I had a conversation with Mason Fallon. I felt I needed to do that, because it's easy to be dismissed and you go down there, but they're not dismissed in my eyes. They're massively important.
You mentioned that last week, and I think you mentioned that in the Cup, because you said the reason we won at Glossop North End wasn't because of the players that are here today. It's the players that are in the shadow squad. And that was a bloody good point you made.
Well, yeah, because they know what... I mean, even Carl. That's why Carl's so frustrated.
Pushing everyone.
Exactly. That's why Carl's... If you read Carl's message that he sent me this morning, the guy when his adrenaline stopped pumping and he sits back and realises, and he thinks, shit, well, the ghost. I might not even get back in.
Yeah. Because he knows the quality we've got.
Because he knows it. I mean, you've got Conor Morris. Straight away. I'm not going to give anything away at the minute. But obviously Conor's now back off holiday. He's had 2 games with the shadow squad, and that sooner or later, he's obviously waiting for his opportunity to come back into the first team squad. And the fact that Carl's now got a ban opens the door for somebody. As a forward, because that's what Carl is.
Yeah.
So it's really, really tough. And
a week's a long time in football.
Yeah, and listen, we need, if we want to achieve anything this season, we need these players. They're all going to be required. And what I'm trying to say to you is this week will be a big test for the squad. Why I'm saying a big test for the squad, we played on Saturday. We're now playing on Wednesday, which we haven't had this year yet. And then we play again on another tough game on Saturday again, right? And I think we've got a midweek game the week after. So now the next few games are going to be a test on. So where people are thinking, or players are thinking, I don't see this team are very, very good, and they're I don't see me getting in here. That will soon change. And then I looked at the booking stats last night. Michael Gervin's on 3 already, 5, and you're suspended. So he's another one. So things can change dramatically.
And then doors open for other players, the likes of Callum Hewitt and people like that are going to be thrown into the mix.
Correct. This is what I'm saying. So it's not, it might, for people like, Ben Langley, let's not forget Ben. Yeah, Ben's been an ever present in Bacup's team for the last 2 years. For the last 2 years. But Ben's, been a little bit unfortunate that he hasn't, because of the way. I'm not going to say too much here because it might give something away. But because we've done something slightly different, Ben has been a little bit unlucky in not starting. But one of the reasons he hasn't started as well is because my mindset, again, I just talked about continuity. My mindset is, I think it's another week, just over a week, might be 10 days. He's off for 2 weeks. He goes away. Listen, I'm sorry, but I can't. Listen, they make the choice. These people, they know if they want to play it. And I've got to say this, listen, we can't. I know there always are circumstances why people take their holidays when they do, and I understand that sometimes it's not as easy to take holidays kind of out of season because of people getting time off work. It's same with me. If you work for me, right, I can't afford to have 2 drivers off at the same time. I have a relief driver. Right, so I can only want, the rule is with me, we can only have 1 off at any given time.
Yeah.
Right. So what they've got to do, if you're not in quickly and booking your holiday on the calendar, if you're a bit blasé and you wait till late on, it's my birthday next week,
you're going to get the leftovers.
You're not going to get it because you're not going to get the date you want because somebody else has booked it.
Yeah,
and that's the way because it's not us being awkward. It's just the way that we wouldn't, if we've 2 down, we wouldn't be able to operate the business the same. Yeah, so it's a 1. So I understand this situation with holidays can be a bit of a problem, but what gets me is, in a little way, is that they know the football season. They know that they're playing at a good level of football, and to me, listen, the circumstances, your mate, I'm going to mention him again, Roy Mason. He's the bleeding manager. It's a football season. I don't get it. He's away. My coach, one of my coaches, is now gone away. As it happens, we've got other good coaches in Ryan and Alan that can pick the baton up and run with it. But I don't get it.
Though, we had players missing, but I heard that Steeton had three players missing in the season. When does this usually happen?
Well, exactly, and this is what I mean. I mean, if you want to do well, listen, when you're as a player, what the players do, they go to clubs or try to jump on a club that they think that will be challenging for honours, but then they're not available. If you're challenging for honour, to challenge for honours, you need to be. It's a 9-month season. It's not a 3-week season.
The question is, do they really want it?
Well, that's another point, isn't it? I don't know.
That's a personal question they need to ask themselves.
But then these are probably the type of players, although I'm not, this isn't with Ben Langley. He's been, I've got to say this, Ben Langley's attitude's been, as much as he's frustrated, his attitude's been immense. He understands he's going away, and he got on last week and he got some minutes. He didn't get any minutes yesterday. But that, again, were probably circumstances. Once you get a sending off and you're down to 10 men, everything changes. So you know, but yeah, coming back to the Ben Langley situation, he's going away. He's going on holiday. So obviously I've overlooked him a little bit because I want continuity.
Yeah. And plus as well, in the defence, how can you, if it ain't broken, don't fix it?
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at yesterday. I mean, Don Williams. I mean, the way that Steeton played and the way that they played. I mean, they played down. A lot of it went down Don Williams' side, and I thought Dom could have been a challenger really for man of the match because I thought, but Dom did steady Eddie. He did really well yesterday, and I could have easily given him man of the match, but you know, in the cold light of day on everything. You know, I gave defenders last week, you know, man of the match where, you know, I decided to go that way. But yesterday, I kind of went with a midfield player because I thought Ben Thompson's work rate and quality on the ball and trying to make things happen was, you know, it was good to see. And it was, you know, he put the hard yards in, you know, and he I think he deserved the man of the match. People have other opinions, but my opinion were that Ben Thompson. But Ben Thompson got the man of the match. But equally, what I'm saying is Don Williams could have easily have been in that in my thought process because I thought he did. You know, we all know that Joy and Paul Shalobi, they've been doing really well. You know, but the simple fact is, going back to your question about these players that are there, and there's other players to come in when they get over their injury, like Toby Wright and Alex Miller. You know, Callum Hewitt were away. He's away at minute. You know, these players again are going to be challenging to come back in when they're fully fit and back on the scene. But you know, they've got to understand and how football works. We're not an old boys club. We're not a friends club. You know, if a defender. If a left fullback went out tomorrow injured, then I'd be looking at bringing a left fullback from the shadow squad into the squad, which would probably open the door from obviously Mason. You know, you know, if a striker goes out tomorrow, then obviously. I'd be looking in the shadow squad for a striker to come into the squad. You know, that
fits the bill straight away.
Yeah. So you know that's how it kind of works. But then when they get in there, they've got to make sure they stay there. It's no good coming into the. I mean, they might not. I'm not saying straight away they're going to go into the starting 11. I'm not saying that. No. I'm saying it steps them up into the squad, and then we take it from there. You know. But once they get that shirt, they've got to try and keep it, and they'll only keep it by being on top of the game in performance-wise, and also obviously trying to curb their indiscipline. Because, like I said, you know, taking Carl's situation away from this, you know, Michael, I looked yesterday, and like I said, he's on 3 bookings already, 2 bookings, and he's you know, he'll be banned, and you know, and then he'll be looking, you know, to try and get back in. But long may this continue because it can only be healthy. But as a manager, it's important I don't dismiss anybody in terms of. I speak to him. I said to you the other week about, you know, when it came, I'm only analysing pre-season, and Jack Parker had done really well in pre-season, and he was lucky that he didn't make the initial opening squad. Really unlucky, you know. But he's got his head down. He's in shadow squad. I know he's there, and I know what he's doing, and what he's, you know. And if an opportunity arises again, he's got to be the kind of. He's a different kind of player to say Jacob Ormrod. Yeah. I think, in my opinion, Jack Parker is more like a Michael Gervin type player.
Yeah, more finesse.
You follow me? So, you know, it's horses for courses and the different kinds of midfield players. Like you've got different kinds of, like for instance, you know, let's talk about defenders. You know, I know somebody can play, you know, like we've got you know, you've got Jacob May that can play centre half, but you could also, Jacob May were really brought in, not as cover as centre half. He was really brought in as cover because I knew Ben Langley was going away. He was really brought in as cover for right back.
Yeah.
Not centre back. He was really brought in as cover for, although he can play centre back. Yeah. He was brought in as cover for right back.
And from what I've seen, Brent, right, he looks a tidy player.
Yeah, he's a very, very good player. Very, very, very good player, a tidy player. You know, so, but this is what I'm coming from. In terms of Ty Williams, we know he can play centre half, but I also know, and I've played him there a couple of times to give him a go. I've tried him in midfield because he said he can play in midfield, and he's not let us down when he's been in midfield. He'd have come on yesterday in midfield, right? Not as an attacking midfield player, as more of a defensive kind of midfield player. But my point is, how many times do managers in a game, if you're on the bench as a centre half, you're not really going to change your centre backs unless there's an injury?
No.
Right? So, but my point is, so if you're a centre back, as in Ty, is a centre back, but he can play midfield, you've got a player on the bench that can cover centre back, but he can cover midfield.
Yeah.
But if you're only a centre back and you can't play anywhere else, the chances are, even if you sat on the bench,
you're
not going to get on because
you're limited, aren't you?
You're limited. So as much as it might be frustrated for, say, Ty at the minute, it might not be as frustrated because
he's going to get his chance.
He's more than just a centre half.
Absolutely. Great show, Brent. 233, back in action Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, Brian Boyce Stadium. If you can't make it, then tune in to the live stream, Facebook Live and YouTube. Enjoy your Sunday, mate.
Top man. See you later.
Bye.